Millionaires and Boats. Are there any good ones? All that and more here on The Counter Hit. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to the internet. You are now here. And so are we. So let's enjoy our time together as we waste a little bit until the end. I'm your host, Sam Kirk. This is The Counter Hit, where we punch back, proverbially that is, against all the insanity that is out there in the world. Gives ourselves a little bit of solace as we continue on in this great journey that is life. Folks, let me ask you this. How do you feel about boats? Ever thought about owning one? Ever thought about being a multi-millionaire and just cruising along whatever proverbial lake that you're nearby? Sounds mighty nice, doesn't it? Well, how about this company? Grady White Boats. Yeah, look at those boats. Look at those people having a good time. Look at those people affording something that not many people can possibly afford. Oh, experience the finest boats have ever crafted. Well, what if I told you that there are some good people that own boats? Rather, there are some good people that own entire boat companies, such as the CEO of Grady White Boats. As reported by the greatgoodnewsnetwork.org, the title is Inspiring CEO Gives Company to Charity After working an 80-hour weeks for 58 years, saving it from bankruptcy. What's this? A good CEO? What's going on here? Well, it says right here that this particular individual turned down $500 million in the weeks of the end of July specifically in order to pass controlling stakes in Grady White Boats to a purpose trust that will operate it according to his values and convert its bottom line into community service, conservation, and other philanthropic causes. Whoa! Eddie Smith Jr., of 58 years, worked 80 to 100-hour work weeks to salvage this company that was at one point near bankruptcy and turn around into a 9-figure revenue-generating machine. And he wants to give it almost all of it away back to his community, to conservation and philanthropic causes. He's quoted in saying, "I just think that those of us that are fortunate enough to be in a position to help others, it's really a gift to me to be able to do what I do," Smith told Fortune. And of course, we talk a little bit about more his upbringing. Born to a father who was orphaned at age 10 during the Great Depression, Smith Jr. grew up near the poverty line. The first break was when his father worked enough odd jobs to start a mail-order business. The son, who remembers eating Spam 3 times a week, then lied about his age to get a job on a paper route before becoming the first in his family to graduate from college, University of North Carolina in 1965. There's more details here in the story by goodnewsnetwork.org. The story is by Andy Corbley. Most importantly, though, yachts, boats, all that stuff. That's for the uber rich that don't want to give back. Apparently, this guy's bucking the trend. So I think that's some pretty good news all around. There's probably some kind of tax benefit here. But again, the story is he's declined many, many multi-million-dollar offers to acquire his business. And he's doing so under the guise of evangelism. He's doing so under the guise of trying to build a community to service those that, he's close to, and conserve and focus on philanthropic efforts. Again, these are his words and what he's trying to shoot for. So, hey, next time you feel differently about boats, ask, is it a Grady White boat? Because if it is, Eddie Smith Jr.'s got your back. Meta Chief Technology Officer says employees should use AI productivity gains to do even more work, not take more time off. Aghast! Oh, geez. Oh, man, this whole time I thought artificial intelligence was going to, make my life easier and stuff. But it's not. Oh, no. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. As Business Insider reports, this report comes from Charles Roulette, Forgive my pronunciation. Should tech workers supercharged by AI be able to take more time off? And according to Meta's chief technology officer, Andrew Bosworth, he said he doesn't think so. That's what Bosworth told employees at a Q&A in early July, according to 3 people on the call. So let me get this straight. AI is going to make your job easier. It's going to let you get more done. So instead of taking that optimization that AI gives us, we're going to work even twice as hard now to optimize it on both ends, burning the candle from both ends. Wow. Okay. Yeah. His argument is that he works for Meta, one of the most exciting companies in the world. So they, quote, are doing the most exciting stuff on the planet, end quote. Quote, I hope that what we do with our extra time is do even more and cooler stuff for the users who use our products every day, end quote, Bosworth said. We got billions of people using our products every day. I get an extra hour. You know what I would do with it? I put into that. Okay. All right. This sounds like evil CTO spouting evil CTO stuff. And in some ways it kind of is. But let's understand the context. This is a Q&A for the business, right? If I'm a CTO, I've got to toe the company line. I can't publicly tell you to start wasting your time. It's not good for shareholder value. It's not within his interest to argue that, yes, go ahead and take a sabbatical, take an hour off. If your AI can get done in 5 minutes what it used to take you an hour, go ahead and take that time to yourself. It's just not good MO stuff. I respect that point of the argument. However, the other piece of the argument, which is that, hey, you know what? You get any extra free time, optimize it even more. That's what separates human beings from robots. Let it be known, ladies and gentlemen, that your boy, Sam Kirk, scare quotes, your guy right here, I'm an anti-optimizer. Let me say that one more time. I'm an anti-optimizer. What does that mean? Are you saying that you're not interested in trying to do things better? Of course I am. Because if I were to say that I'm not interested in doing things better, that would make me very inhuman. But I am human. And one of the great things about human beings, 99% of us, is that our brains are geared, are hardwired towards optimization. They're hardwired towards it, which means I can't help but get better at things if I give myself enough time to do those things. So what I'm against is the grinding into optimization needlessly because it doesn't actually yield any kind of result. We see this time and time and time again, folks. The human brain does a lot of amazing things. All we have to do is trust in it to optimize for us. Us trying to optimize on top of that optimization usually gets in the way, leads to misery, depression, and in many cases, results that aren't any better than those that aren't trying to focus on it too much. So look, if you work for a company that I own and we have a new exciting technology that's allowing you to do things faster for me, first of all, I'd probably ask the question, why am I paying for the expensive technology, which is what AI is, incredibly expensive, and you at the same time? I'd ask that question, honestly. And I'd probably go with the person as opposed to technology because I'm always a people-forwarded person. But let's just assume for a moment I'm bypassed that. I say, you know what? It's fine for me to pay for both the technology and the person. I think that's an equal cost for me. I think it's fair to me as the business owner. If that were me, I'd say, yeah, if something used to take you an hour and this tool gets you to do it in half an hour, spend that 30 minutes, whatever time you have, doing not work stuff. Why? Because I'm assuming, as putting you into a capacity where you have a tool that does some of your work for you easier, that some of your work has some kind of creative or innovation element to it. And if that's the case, I'd want you to spend time not thinking about work so you can do some background processing and think about innovations. I don't need you to grind and see what else you can optimize for. That's a waste of time. There's only so much time you can spend doing that. I'd want you instead to spend time with your family, do a Skype call. That's how dated I am, folks, using the vernacular Skype. No one Skypes anymore. Doing a FaceTime call or a Discord call with a friend, checking in with family because you've only got so much time left on this planet before your time is gone. Spend that time and cherish that time. And then come back, recharged, and see what new ideas you have. Because we've got this technology that does all the grunt work for you. I want you for the innovative stuff. If I was your boss. That's me. That's if I was your boss. Of course, this is somewhat fictitious because if I had this innovative technology and it truly did all the things that it's supposed to do, I'd ask the question, why do I have you on my payroll? That's what I'd ask. And very quickly, I would find out that this technology does a lot of cool stuff, but it doesn't do everything super amazing and wonderful and fine. Take in point, when we were formerly called the Zero Dot Podcast, we had a platform we used called Riverside. Riverside is a popular cloud-based platform where you can not only publish and distribute your podcast in many different places, it also allows you to do remote calls with people and seamlessly integrate yourself with someone else who's not in the same room as you. It allows you to do AI-based editing to make your AI process more streamlined. It does all of those things, right? It does all of those things. Only problem was we called it on all those innovations, and we found that it could not exactly do all of the things it said it could do. And then on top of that, we gained a little bit of a conscience and decided, hey, we're not going to go down this path of overly using AI when human beings can do a lot of this work really well. It's true. We went down that path, folks. We asked ourselves the big question, what is this helping us solve? What is this optimizing for? And we found it didn't optimize for too much. It's true that hiring an editor of some kind is a bit of work and a bit of money. Sure, true. But we found that when we applied the human touch to our editing, we always wanted it and liked it more than the AI-generated edits that it would make. So again, looking at both sides, trying to be as fair as I possibly can. If I was the owner of a company and people worked for me and we were using AI, I'd ask the question, what purpose does AI serve? That it either A, replaces my workforce. Again, that sounds unethical, but I mean, I'm just thinking logically. Or what does it offer a value add that is in addition to my workforce that gives me more value add? And if I make the decision that from a cost benefit analysis, it pays me, it's well for me to both pay for this AI tool and my people, then my people are my sources of innovation beyond the scope of what AI could ever do. So I want to give them that extra space, that extra leniency wherever I possibly could do. But again, from experience, it would seem to me that I wouldn't make that call. I'd probably say, you know what? My wallet's a little tight and I have to choose one. I'm going to choose people. Every single time I will choose people. I'd rather pay people versus paying a fancy schmancy tool. But what do I know? I don't run Meta. I don't own Meta. I will never be that financially solvent enough to have any kind of enterprise that large. I am not Andrew Bosworth. And also, I want to be super clear. The scope of this article that we're talking about here. He was talking to people in a Q&A within the company. So you got to sell yourself to the company. You got to sell the company line to people. I don't begrudge him for saying this. I get that's how he does it. He had an opportunity to be real and honest. He didn't take that path because he's probably got to answer to shareholders. But check out this last line. Again, this comes from Business Insider. Go to your parents and ask them, hey, like every time I get a chance to talk to my boss, ask them if I can have more days off. Ask your parents what they think of that as a career strategy. Oh. Okay. So that is a formative argument that is deferring the entire logic of the situation. They're now deferring to your back history, deferring to your parents, deferring to what other people might think. What would they think if you were to ask them to get more additional free time? That's no way to be successful in your career. I've seen this before. I swear I've seen this before. Where have I seen this before? That's right. There was this kind of notoriously famous article floating around social media, thanks to Fortune.com, floating around this kind of misrepresentation of what this one CMO was saying. But basically, the headline says, Gen Z job seekers should be willing to do anything, says Squarespace CMO, who cold called firms from the phone book for her first role. That's what the title was. This kind of got misappropriated to Gen Z job seekers should be willing to work for free, long hours, willing to do anything, says Squarespace CMO, and people rallied behind that on social media. They're not wrong in that misappropriation of that headline, because she does say things like you should be entering the beginning parts of your career with no intention of making any money whatsoever. You should be asking if you can work for free. And then once you develop enough skills, seeing if they'll be willing to offer you some kind of job in some capacity. This is a common line of rhetoric I see over and over and over again. Now, here's the truth. I kind of did the same thing in my career. Honestly, I did. And depending on where you are in life, if you've got money, if you can live off of what you're working on and you want to change careers, you want to go for a lucrative career, this is not bad advice. Offer to pay someone for an hour of their time and ask them questions, or offer to just be someone who works there for a day just to kind of observe and absorb information. Offer to get a mentor. There's ways to do this. But in the extreme case that's kind of highlighted in this story and many other stories that I hear, it again from good old Andrew Bosworth, there's this implication, there's this idea that, you know what, work hard, hustle more. If you're lazy, get the hell out. That's not what your father's generation would have liked. That's not what I did. All that stuff. And that's insane. That is absolutely categorically insane. They know it. But it's kind of working for right now, because when you struggle through something really hard, such as the job market, doesn't matter if you're this generation, last generation, 80s, 70s, 60s, doesn't matter. We all believe, because I have one shared experience, that I was successful because of that struggle. Ergo, you must also go through the same struggle. Forgetting the fact that we live in a world that is so demonstrably different than it was prior. Why should we, under any circumstances, believe that we should be successful in exactly the same way? That's dumb. And on top of that, every single generation, every single parent I've ever met wants their kids to have an easier life than they did. This is counterintuitive to what our prenatal paternal instincts suggest to ourselves. This thing's weird. It's wild. It's dumb. Don't fall for it. The truth is, there's something in the middle about, hey, there should be some strife. There should be some kind of struggle. Doing that does lead to some quote unquote gains. I'm using gains in scare quotes, by the way. Gains in terms of life lessons, hard-earned lessons, and you get to be more valuable to your family, to your community, to yourself. And then after all that, the company you work for, I guess. There's some middle ground there, right? But again, if I have a tool that does this for me and makes it easier, why wouldn't I use the tool and give myself some additional free time? We as human beings are really smart creatures. We will always take the path of least resistance. When you ask us to make the other choice, it can only happen for so long. Because the one rule that you cannot deny is that nature always wins. And if my brain is hardwired to take the easier path, as we all are, because that's what we want out of life, then yeah, we're going to take the easier path. We should be incentivizing people, if we believe in this technology, which the jury's out on this one. But if you believe in this technology, we should be incentivizing people to use the extra free time they get, because this amazing tool does everything for them, or does it for them faster and easier and more efficient, to use that time to get time back, to take that space and that pause and be the better innovative thinker. If we don't do that, then we're just running in circles. They know this, of course. I have a deep-seated suspicion they all know this. They're just saying the lines that they're told they have to say by somebody to make, again, shareholders happy, to make their employees buy into whatever they're trying to sell on you. I believe that's what they're probably doing. But don't fall for it. I don't think anyone listening to this podcast or this show would ever fall for it. But just in case, you have my blessing not to fall for it. But before we get off this AI train, here's the question I have for you all. What if our kids, the newest kids on the block right now, already are getting a whiff of this newfangled technology and they're not buying what the heck we are selling? That's right, folks. As Wired magazine reports to us, some kids will never think AI is cool. How about them apples right there? That's the headline there. Some kids are saying, I think it should stand for artificial idiot. I love that. And some kids are calling AI disgusting and creepy, of all things. That's pretty fascinating there in that capacity. One of my favorite things about this story, though, isn't just that. It's rather the vernacular that they're all using, which is to argue that whenever there's something they don't like or seems a little sus, instead of calling it sus like we used to call it, gosh, I just said we used to call it, I'm old. They're saying, that's so AI. Oh, that's so AI. That's so AI. And this is brilliant. This is fantastic, because it shows that as great of a technology as AI might be, scare quotes and all, it seems also just as likely that actually it has a structure to it. It has a way in which the AI functions. And if it has a structure, if it has a pattern, then kids can recognize it. I mean, adults should too, but kids are quickest. They have neuroplastic brains like you have no idea. And when they pick up on a pattern and they don't like what it's given us, they're not going to buy it. And that means an entire generation is going to think that AI is not for me. Go somewhere else. I had the privilege of attending an art gallery special event for Halloween last year, actually. So this actually dates me a little bit. And I was talking to someone who was just about to graduate from a university in Pittsburgh. And he was there to visit his girlfriend, young man. He's getting ready for medical school. And he said he just could not get behind AI. And most of his classmates aren't into it, but there's a few that think AI is okay. And he just does not understand why anyone would be interested in AI. Doesn't have an iota of a clue why that is. And to be fair, trying to be as diplomatic as I could, I offered some contextual evidence to why someone would be attracted to what AI can possibly provide. And I'll offer the same thing here. There are things artificial intelligence can do, and it does them incredibly quickly. Incredibly quickly. And that's it. I'm actually repeating what our good old former co-host John Merritt said. It can do things really fast. It can do things really fast, and it is learning things, and it is adapting to things for sure. But I don't know. I've seen the human spirit. I've seen human beings being able to identify some of the smells really quickly. Human beings have this incredible ability to kind of sniff out intention out of people, not even robots, people. We can just tell when someone's being not quite who they say they're supposed to be. Something just feels off. I'm a big believer in the gut of the human being. And by, I don't mean the actual stomach. I mean, we as human beings are creatures, animalistic creatures, and we respond to fight or flight. And in the same way, if something feels unsafe or safe, our gut is usually the first thing that sends us some kind of signal. Now, we're often told in academic and corporate and adult circles not to trust your gut, that your gut gets you to do things on impulse. And there's a truth to that. There's a validity to that. Sometimes we do things impulsively. If we react too quickly, we'll regret those actions later. That's true. However, in my line of sight, in my circles, which is, leadership consultancy and executive coaching and all that good stuff, I have found that the wisest people in the room are those that never dismiss what their gut is saying, but don't ever act on it until they can validate it. Never dismiss that there's something funny going on, but they don't know what it is until they can validate it from a couple of different sources, not just one. And so the fact that the newest kids on the block, Gen Zs as we call them, I hate those words, but I'm using that vernacular so you know what I'm talking about. The fact that they are so sensitive to this and saying, hey, this is all hogwash, I want nothing to do with this, that makes me happy. Makes me really gosh darn happy. It means that there's hope. There always was hope, by the way, but there's really more hope now. There's a new wave, a new generation of people that are going to be coming into the entire world. They're not going to put up with the shit of the other generations, just like my generation didn't want to put up with the other shit of the other generations. We keep screwing this up, but we screw up enough times we'll finally get to where we actually always wanted to get to in the first place. One of the things I shout from the rooftops in all my workshops, and I talk to people who are generally in their 30s to 40s to 50s, I speak to them about the fact that when you speak to someone in a newer generational bracket and you don't give them the why, you don't explain to them what's the reason that we're doing all of this, more times than not, they glitch. And by glitch, I mean they just freeze and they don't know what to do because they've lived in a world where, thanks to a tiny rectangular supercomputer that they've had in their pockets since they were 9 years old, where there's always been a why. They've always been able to find out a little bit more detail about things, right? They might not have known the historical context of things, but they got to, if they wanted to, dig deeper. And we don't give them that why, they freeze. They don't do anything. Or they come across as if they're pushing back on you, but really they're just trying to seek understanding. And so, one of the things that we can do, we can ask questions and give them that why. And if we can't give them a why, maybe that's a clue to ourselves that we should have been discovering what that why is. Maybe. I think it's going to be a great uprooting in which how we have to communicate to others that are much younger than ourselves. It's always been true that we have to kind of recalibrate how we speak to the younger generation. This generation is probably the most extreme by definition. And I think that's a good thing. Honestly and truly, that's a good thing. We need a good level set on this. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being held accountable to what I say and what I do. I'm looking forward to having to answer really difficult questions. That's what we need to do. If we don't do it, we're screwed. If we don't do it, we will be all left behind. And so that's what these kids are doing. They're asking the really difficult question, what purpose does this serve? And if you can't explain it to a 9-year-old, then what the hell are you doing? Warren Buffett would be ashamed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning in right now, it means there's an opportunity for you to check out more of what Zero Media has to offer. The Counter Hit is a show made by Zero Media for its fans by its fans. To check out more information about what Zero Media has, you can go to the Patreon at patreon.com/Zero Media. That's dot as in D-O-T, not like dot the dot. Hopefully that makes sense. We are a alternative kind of internet show broadcasting station thingy-majiggy. I'm being vague, but if you're a Patreon member, you already know that we're already in the midst of working on a second show that I can't say more about. But if you like video games and you like literature, you might be interested in what that has to offer. Zero Dot Media Patreon members get access to those shows first sight, first access. They have an opportunity to provide feedback, what they like, what they want to see improved in the future. They also get additional touch points with your host, Sam Kirk, that's me, just to hang out and vibe, on top of additional counterhead stuff. So if you want to be a member, come check out the Patreon at patreon.com/zero.media. For only $3.99 and your regional equivalent, you get access to a bevy of things. It's one of our goals here to give you so much stuff that you'll wonder, geez Louise, how does Sam and Daniel do it? Only one way to find out. Come check us out on Patreon. Peace. Here's a question for you. Have you heard of Jungle Jim?
This is Jungle Jim's International Market in Fairfield, Ohio, and I have no idea how it exists. This 300,000 square foot plot is home to a monorail, ostrich eggs, and even a wedding venue. And it's all the love child between one man and his desire for all things chaotic. Jungle Jim. Is this place successful in spite of you or because of you?
Well, when I die, you'll find out. People look at you and say, did you run the numbers? Did you go over this and go over that? I didn't go over shit. I never touched the computer. This place talks to me, trying to justify this piece of shit business.
How would you describe Jungle?
Jungle, he's one of a kind.
He's a genius, creative. He doesn't take no for an answer, obviously, if you look around.
Something like the monorail. You bought that for $1, right?
Yeah, and I put like probably $2.5 million in it. Well, that's the kind of crazy shit I do.
Yeah, why?
Just because. I mean, I make money here so I can have fun.
Jungle started back in 1971 with a humble roadside produce stand. Why produce?
Why? Because it's a poor man's business. For 4 years, we went from corner to corner because we didn't have money.
How do we go from that to this?
Mojo, baby. Hey, Mojo. Don't ask me. Don't get too deep with this shit.
After 55 years and 16 expansions in an industry where independents don't survive, let alone thrive, Jungle is soaking in all of the success.
You want to see my closet? Nobody sees ever.
Oh, let's go. Let's see it.
Nobody's ever seen my closet.
This is where all the costumes are.
These are the moods, baby. When they come here, and if they see me on the floor, you think I was a rock star. They're taking my pictures. You mind me if we get your pictures taken? You got to take risks. You got to take risks. You got to have failure. You can't have success without failure. It's impossible. And this guy keeps on pounding me over and over again. How do you make money with such a low growth? You know what we're going to do?
Why am I nervous?
Here. Your parent company, whoever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Here it is right here. See this shit? There. Okay. See that right there? We'll buy it. You want him to work for you? Or you want to work for him?
I think he should work for me then.
I think so too.
I'll work for you.
All right.
Thank you.
See you guys. Take it. Yeah, it was fun.
Let me take this mic from you.
That was fun. Yeah.
Wow, folks. That is Jungle Jim. Who's Jungle Jim? Let's take a quick look right now at who Jungle Jim is. Jungle Jim's international market, according to Wikipedia. By the way, that webpage was, that video that you just listened to was from Morning Brew. Give them a shout here on YouTube in just a little bit. But Jungle Jim's international market, I've never even heard of. And I've been to Ohio many times, and now I feel I am remiss, and I have to, next time I go back, pay my dues. You see, according to Wikipedia, Jungle Jim's International Market, formerly Jungle Jim's Farmers Market, oh, there's a difference one, is a large specialty supermarket in Fairfield, Ohio, United States, with a satellite location in Union Township, Claremont County, both near Cincinnati. The main location is roughly 200,000 square feet. That's quite a bit, and has been described as a theme park of food. Jungle Jim's offers one of the largest wine selections in the United States, live seafood tanks, and an in-store cooking school. Each week, the school is visited by about 82 Each week, the store is visited by over 82,000 shoppers, from whom founder Jungle Jim Bonaminio calls foodies. All right, fair enough. Many of the specialty foods international departments are difficult to find elsewhere in the greater Cincinnati area, and the customers have been known to drive from other cities for the store's wide variety of food. Jungle Jim's is also known for its use of animatronics as well as other displays. Folks, I've never heard of this person. I don't know much more about it beyond what we've just talked about, but my gosh, man, that is such an attractive personality. I love it when an individual basically says, it's not that complicated, guys. I make money so I can do the things that I love. And you can see it in that person's expression. And if you're a listener, you can hear it in their expression as well. When they get asked the question, how do you have slow growth? They just look at them with a dumb face like, what does that even mean? If you make enough money that your bills are paid, your people are taken care of, and you got excess to spare, reinvest it in the business. And if that business is what you love, then you are basically in heaven every single day of your life. You know, I feel like that's our second good story about entrepreneurs who are doing good for their community, or, you know, doing good for their business and so forth, and not trying to make billions upon billions of dollars for no reason. Just make enough to make yourself happy, make enough to provide for your family, your friends, your loved ones. And then the rest is just enjoy life while you have it. If you saw the video, you'll saw that Jungle Jim seems like he's the kind of guy that just enjoys life. I would encourage all of us to do the same thing. Oof. That gets to me. That really gets to me, because I think sometimes I fall into the trap of thinking I need to work harder, hustle harder, do more. And I realize, yeah, you know, it'd be nice if I had a couple extra dollars in my bank account. But if all my basic needs are met, the question I should be asking is, am I having fun? And if I'm not having fun, then what the heck am I doing? What the heck am I doing? You got to fix that. Got to fix that within ourselves. I think, anyway. Sometimes we tell ourselves that it's okay to suffer now because you'll have a better, more enjoyable life later. This is called delayed gratification, and it has some good principles behind it. Generally speaking, if there's something that I want right now, like let's say an Oreo cookie, one of my favorite cookies of all time, I'm going to enjoy it a lot more if I let myself wait a little bit longer. Like, yeah, I want it right now, but let me have it on Friday. Friday comes around, let me have it next Friday. That Friday comes along, let me wait till, Labor Day. Let me wait till the holidays come around. Let me wait till Halloween. Let me wait till Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that good stuff. And then when I finally get that opportunity to have it, it feels so good. That's a great principle. I love it. Yet I wonder how often we stop ourselves short of enjoying what we love for reasons that don't make sense. I mean, they make sense from a fiscal perspective, like, don't buy this expensive thing because you can't afford it right now, or it's gonna tighten things up, or you'll be able to enjoy yourself later once you've gotten more of your eggs in a certain basket, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are moments when that fiscal financial advice makes sense and it helps us all, and there are moments when it's like, what am I waiting for? What the heck am I waiting for? I'm not advocating that you go recklessly spend your money, by the way. I'm not trying to say that. Instead, I'm offering the question: what are you waiting for? Why can't you be happy now? And of course, I want it to be super clear. Physical things don't make us happy. Objects, toys, gadgets, they don't make us happy. In the case of Jungle Jim, if you've got the disposable income for it, then what are you waiting for? For everyone else that's listening and you're thinking to yourself, Sam, I haven't had disposable income in years, I'm with you. You're trying to fight right now and trying to survive. Don't let me or anyone else tell you otherwise. It's hard out there for sure. And I think this dovetails into another topic I want to talk about right now, which is, it's nice if we were all Jungle Jim. It would be great if we had that tenacity to just do things. And after years and years and years, we start making some money off of it. But a lot of us are in the beginning phases of our life journey, and we're feeling a little helpless. I just recently stumbled across a video on YouTube of an individual. I've never even heard of this person. I don't know who the heck they are. And the headline is, or the thumbnail says, I don't understand what we are living for. It's a short video. Let's take a quick listen right now here of what this person has to say. Their name is called Keepswim. This came up on my feed, and I'm seeing the sentiment everywhere.
I don't know what I'm living for. Life feels so painfully empty that it's something I don't even feel like I can even ignore anymore. I've spent most of my life just following rules or following missions and goals I thought were supposed to be the answer to the emptiness in my heart. I'd blame it on my weight, I'd blame it on my appearance, I'd blame it on some random accolade that I need to achieve, and then I can start living my life. Then things can maybe begin to make sense. A lot of the time I'd also use that goalpost as a way to tell myself, well, I know something deeper is wrong, but I first need to reach this goal to have a little bit of a barrier or a protection, and then I can begin to go to that vulnerable place. The issue is, I have been doing this for so long that I am not even sure that there's a life worth living behind that. What I mean is, I am somebody that overthinks a lot. If you want to call it overthinking, I'm someone that just thinks too much about things. And I'm sure you are too. You try and understand the world a bit too much and it ruins the experience because you can't seem to make sense of it and you can't seem to make sense of yourself in it, especially when you have pain. And I remember throughout my childhood and adolescence, I spent a lot of time thinking about relationships, about people, about what made people love you. Because for me, if I made people love me, everything would be okay. That was my main goal in life. I needed to make as many people as possible love me. And to do that, I had to play a role. I had to do this very specific formula I'd figured out a while back to making someone love you. And it was about not being too honest. It was about pretending this. Anyways, I won't go into the details about that.
Yeah, and she goes on more to talk about that experience. I'm going to recommend everyone check out that video just to kind of get a little bit of a pulse check on that. I mean, Keepswim, I've never heard of this person. This is a sentiment I've heard a lot. What am I living for? What am I sacrificing all of this for? And I feel you. Anyone that's in this position right now that's feeling this, you are not alone. Yet you are made to feel like you are alone in some way. She has another video here. I don't know how to live without achieving. Think about that. I don't know how to live without achieving. I still have yet to watch the film The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. I'd like to see it soon. The problem is that I'd like to see it in 70 millimeter because that's how he intended us to watch it. And all my theaters are sold out near me. But I want to bring him up for a minute. And I'm going to criticize him for just a smidge. And I hope if you're a Christopher Nolan fan, you'll give me a little bit of grace here. I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan. I love him and his brother. Great. But when he talks about the film The Odyssey and people talk about the film with him, they say how much the film is an achievement. He talks about what he wanted to quote unquote achieve. And far be it from me to say that he hasn't achieved something. I haven't seen the film, but I've seen his other films and I like quite a lot of them. I'm a big fan. He has a very kind of mathematical, structural way in which he maps out his screenplays and his stories, and it's just very satisfying. And I always watch his films knowing he has an intention behind it, and I always feel like, yeah, he had something he had to say. And that's beautiful, because, I mean, some stuff you're watching, you're like, what does this have to say? Yet, to frame art as if it is an achievement or not gives me the ick. Art doesn't have to achieve shit. Art is just art. Art is an expression of a person being human, and it's when I communicate, let's say I'm the artist, all I'm doing is saying, here's my experience, here's what I've seen, here's how I see the world, and not everyone's gonna like it, and that's okay. But if it's shotgunned to enough people, someone's gonna go, hey, that's like my experience but a little bit different, and we learn from each other. That's art to me. And the amount of times I've stopped myself from making quote unquote art because I didn't think I was going to quote unquote achieve anything is a very large number that I'm almost embarrassed to share. And I hear what this person says. Keepswim on YouTube. Give her some love if you can. But I hear what this person says and many other people saying. This is, I feel like I'm behind. I feel like I'm behind. I need to do this thing before I can do this thing, before I can do this thing. And the next day you get punched with even more things. And before you know it, it's been like 2 years and you still haven't even gotten close to where you want to be. That's exhausting for anyone. And I've been there. I've been there. I don't have an antidote. I don't have a secret ingredient to get out of this rut. And anything that I would possibly offer would be incredibly tone deaf now, because even just 5-6 years ago, we lived in a very different world. 5 years from that was a different world. Like, whatever I have to offer is totally catastrophically different. What I can offer is this. It was my loved ones, it was my friends, it was my spouse who shook me out of a lot of my funk that I was in and gave me permission to enjoy life when I felt that I did not have it. These people still do that for me. I am still the person that is working late at night, grinding, getting stuff done, thinking I'm not doing enough, I'm not achieving enough. And it's my spouse, my lovely partner, whom you'd see if you were on our Patreon, by the way, who's like, hey, when are you going to come downstairs and hang out with me for a little bit? And it doesn't matter what we would do. It doesn't matter if it was watching TV, it doesn't matter if it was watching a dumb movie, if it was cuddling, if it was reading a book, but the implication every time is, can you waste some of your time with me? And every time I do, I hem and haw, I go, I got something, I don't have time for this, whatever. And then I breathe and I sit. And I'm like, oh yeah, this family life. We have a nice home now. We have 2 cats, and this is what I'm doing all of this for. And what am I doing all this for if I can't even possibly enjoy it? That's my experience, right? But everyone has their own different version of what that looks and feels like. I can only say, for me, I have to shut out the noise, and I need a mechanism to help me shut out that noise. And that mechanism for me is other people whom I trust, because I am not a reliable source when it comes to when do I stop, when do I go. I'm not a reliable source. I'm either fed with fear that I'm not doing enough and I hustle, I never stop, or I stop totally, completely, I never start going. I'm not reliable in that space. So I have my friends and my family and my loved ones to hold me accountable in that space. I would encourage you, listener/viewer, to do exactly the same thing. And to the pain of the actual title, I don't understand what we're living for. Ooh. You know, we've started this show, The Counter Hit, and I kind of end with every line of, you know, let's waste some time together today before you have to go off and go back into the trenches. I firmly believe in my heart of hearts, 99.9% of the stuff that we do is a waste of time. Meaning, if it's not directly related to getting a roof over your head, providing food for yourself and your family, and your health care and just overall well-being and safety, everything else you do in life is a waste of time. Everything. But here's the thing. We need that. We need to have that plenty of time be a waste of time. Once you've got your very basic needs met, you're just waiting until the end. So what are you going to do with that time? You're wasting it, of course, as one does. What are we living for? We're living for wasted time. And that's okay. That's what we should be doing. Once you've got a buffer, once you've got some kind of blanket, enjoy that wasted time. And when I say the words wasted time, by the way, it is often, not always, but it is often the productivity bro or the red-pilled male that comes in and says, it's not a waste of time. Video games aren't a waste of time. This isn't a waste of time. Waking up at 4:30 in the morning isn't a waste of time. Whatever they have to say. And I say, you're missing the point. Video games are a waste of time. Reading books are a waste of time. Embracing art is a waste of time. It's necessary, but it is a waste of time because it is something we are doing while we wait for the end to come, whatever that is. And I say that with an empowering smile on my face. Like, I love wasting time. I love doing things for no other reason than just the joy of doing the thing, because that makes it the most joyous of all. If I have to attach a value to something, like I can only enjoy XYZ thing if it does XYZ other thing, then it's not a waste of time and I'm in hyper productivity mode. I love video games because I'm not achieving anything when I play them. I'm just having fun. Sure, I beat a game. The game will give me a ton of arbitrary achievements. I'll have tons of laughs with some friends if I'm playing a multiplayer game. I'll have tons of memories. But I only had those memories because I treated it like this time right now doesn't matter. We're just going to enjoy it while we have it right now. That's it. That's the whole thing. I don't know what you're living for, Keepswim. Everyone's got a different thing. I don't want to presuppose. I don't want to tell you not to overthink, as you indicated before, because overthinking is something I do too. What I can say is when you talk to people on their deathbed and you ask them, you know, what they miss and what they regret, they're never going to regret not having achieved enough, ever. They regret not having spent more time with their loved ones, their family members, their friends, their family. And I forget who said it, but I think someone was asked, a famous person was asked, hey, on your last day on earth, what would you do? And they said, I'd go to the diner with my buddies and have a good time. He says, really? You could do anything else on your last day on earth? He says, what else would I want to do but spend great conversation with friends and family? Well, what would you talk about? Well, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It just mattered that we were all there. I think there's probably a lesson here about mindfulness, but I can't use that word mindfulness without coming across high and mighty, but there's probably something there too. So when I think of Jungle Jim's international market, think about what he's doing, and I think about the struggles that we're all in, and I think about the struggles of the current generation that are trying to figure out this whole system and thing. I salute you, Jim. I salute anyone like you. I think that's a model to aspire by. And to those that are struggling, I'm with you and I hear you. There's at least one voice that wants to advocate for you. That's right here, me, and here in the counter hit. And if you want to join whatever this is, podcast, show, media, something, whatever, and feel less alone, then you got that. But even more than that, you've got yourself too, and your friends and your family. Remember, never forget that our greatest resource is each other. I will never, ever, ever think otherwise, because I've seen the magic of what human beings can do when they're together. And that's something AI can't do. I guarantee it. Today's Patreon requested feature is, once again, from David Rivera, who requested that we spend some time in each episode of the podcast / show of The Counter Hit talking about fighting game stuff, and more specifically, fighting game terminology. If you're a fighting game fan, maybe even you're not, did you know that they have a whole lingo for things like combos and reversals and piano and J-swipes? That's actually a term. Yeah, believe it or not. They have all kinds of terms for things you probably don't even know about. So today we talk to you about probably one of the most notorious, most ubiquitous terms in FGC land that I can think of, which is the term for the good old, and I'm not making this up when I say this term. I want to make sure that you understand that this is a real term right now. The meaty. That is right. The meaty, ladies and gentlemen. What the heck is a meaty? Well, it's argued where the meaty came from. Like, people aren't quite 100% sure where it all came from, but we do know this. We know, generally speaking, that people started using the term meaty in the English-speaking territories thanks to an old forum group called SF2 group, I think it was called. Hold on, let me get my terminology right. alt.games.sf2 is where the term kind of started getting floated around here on the interwebs. That's what we think. It's been misaccredited to a couple different people, and I won't determine who the actual person who came up with it was. Even back then in 1994, we did not like the term meaty. We think it's a little inappropriate and weird and sus, we'll say. Or that's so AI, as they like to say. Being said, meaty is actually a word. And it means something. In the simplest way that I can possibly kind of explain to anyone. A meaty is when you are a fighting game character and you take your opponent down and knock them down. They're knocked down, you are standing up. And then, on the very first available frame of animation that they are standing up and vulnerable, you have already done some kind of attack, an attack that has an active hitbox, which you learned from one of our previous episodes what a hitbox is, that intercepts with their vulnerable hurtbox, sorry. In doing so, on that very first frame where the active hitbox is interfacing with your hurtbox, the opponent then is forced into a true 50-50. They can only do two things at this point. They can block Or they can do a reversal, an invincible reversal move, usually some kind of special move with invincible properties to get themselves out of it. Otherwise, if they try upon wake up to do a counterattack that is not invincible, they will get stuffed. Let's take an example of what this looks like right now in action. This comes from the lovely glossary.infill.net. This is their specific entry for this, and they use the example of Killer Instinct. Let's go ahead and take a look right now. And there it is right there. That's the meaty. You'll see it right here, slowing it down. There's the light kick or medium kick, and you can see that vulnerable hitbox come through. That's because the opponent was not blocking or doing an invincible move of some kind, so they got punished for it. And there you see it right there again. There's the counter hit. The counter hit in most modern fighting games indicates to you that the opponent of some kind, the opponent in some way, in some kind, was doing some kind of move. But here in this example, you'll see the reversal. And the reversal is because Jago's invincible dragon punch or uppercut of some kind is invincible upon startup. When the opposing Jago does that meaty, as we call it, kick into their wake up, they'll get hit by it. And so you see that's the rock, paper, scissors, or actually in this case, it's a 50-50. You either block or you reversal it. Here's an example from Third Strike. I believe the meaty right there is that that overhead punch that Ryu has. I can't remember. Is it collarbone breaker or the solar plexus? I forget what it's called. Nope, collarbone breaker. Yeah, the collarbone breaker is the overhead. That's what it's called. My bad, guys. My bad. Yeah, that's the animation there for that. Yeah. That's a common thing we do in Street Fighter 2 Town when we're doing a quote-unquote meaty. It's overhead and it's inside of you when you wake up. Ooh. Now, I just said it. It's inside of you while you wake up. I guess that's where the root of the word meaty came from. Meaty. It's inside. It's meaty. You can't do anything about it. But even in 1994, when they were talking about it on good old alt.games.streetfighter2, they were like, can we please call it something else? Can we please just call it anything else? And sadly, the term meaty has stuck. It's not going anywhere. So the next time you play a fighting game and it feels like no matter what you do on wake up, there's nothing you can do. Have you tried blocking? And have you tried mastering your one frame reversals, specifically with your special moves that are invincible? Because chances are one of those two options is what's going to beat your opponent when it comes to a meaty setup. And then that will prevent them from always going on the offensive during a mix-up setup on knockdown. More tips here on the counter hit. Did you know that you can submit your questions over on our awesome, fantastic, spantabular website called thecounterhit.com? That's right. And we have a question that was submitted to us actually quite a bit ago. And we owe a big, massive apology to this individual who submitted this question a long time ago. They're only getting to it now, but I think it's about time we get right into it. This user has a question for us. Hi, Zero Dot Buddies. Hi. I've recently found that if I'm ever feeling a little lost, overwhelmed, or in a bad mood, taking all of my many plushies off my bed, which are stuffed animals or stuffed characters, making my bed and taking my time to carefully line up my plushies really helps lift me up. Do you have any small tasks that can turn a bad day around? Oof, I like this one. What I like about this the most is that it's specific to this person. And I think that's one of the most important things whenever you have any kind of ritual that kind of gets you back to being right as rain. I think for me, what helps me the most when I'm having kind of the worst day imaginable, a day that's like I'm just in a funk and I need a good reset. For me, I need to have some sweat on my brow. I need to like do some physical activity that gets me just out of whatever I'm mentally in a fog about. This doesn't have to be anything crazy. I can go on like a pretty long walk, like an hour or 2 hour long walk, which seems kind of insane, but it really does help kind of get me out of my head. If I have the time or I feel like I have the space, sometimes I'll do like a mini strength training session. Maybe I'll do sprints. There's a calisthenics park near me that I'll do sprints in. Something physical. That's usually what gets me right as rain. Obviously, if you don't have the capacity for that, if that's not a space that you are in, then that might not be an option for you. Another thing that can really help me, it doesn't help me quite as well because this can reset my brain, but in a way that sometimes doesn't help me, is music. I have so many playlists on my computer, on my desktop, of different songs that evoke different moods for me. I tend to be a very emotional listener to music. Certain tracks can trigger emotions for me. So if I kind of want to hypnotically, emotionally hijack myself out of whatever funk I'm in, I can play one of those playlists and I'll usually get myself out of it. It's dangerous though, because sometimes it won't be productive. Like I have a playlist that's just for like music that triggers me to cry and be sad. I have music that makes me happy and excited. I have music that gets me somber and thinking about things. So they're all different, varying qualities, but that can help set me right as rain as well. I think what's important is that everyone finds a routine that works for them, that's beneficial to them. And it should be something that is low to zero cost. It shouldn't cost you anything. It should be, my other example of walking and doing exercise, that can help, but only if you have time. It should be something that you've done pretty quickly and giving yourself the amount of time to reset. One of the most effective ways to kind of get people to turn things around is a psychological thing of just passing through a doorway. Literally just passing through an alternate doorway somewhere in your house, in some other facility, getting outside, going out to the shops, doing whatever you can. Just that psychologically does a lot to reset the brain. That's why when you pass through a doorway, you sometimes forget what you were thinking right beforehand because your brain subconsciously takes it as a little mental reset. And that's a really big boon there. So recommend those things. Those are things that I would do. But thank you for sharing, and hopefully you inspire others to share what their routines are. So if you've got a secret, awesome routine that helps get you out of a bad mood, let us know in the comments below. Thanks a lot, good friend. And for our final segment today, ladies and gentlemen, thought I was going to leave you hanging? Nah, I would never do that to you. Last I talked to you before was about the good old Nintendo 64 and the analog 3D. I'm going to have a more detailed review for you a little bit later on because I'm still testing things and finagling with things. And I just read they just made a new update like today. I need to update the system and see what all is new and stuff. But in the meantime, I told you before that when I got my analog 3D, I got this little fancy EverDrive 64 X7 cartridge. Paid a bit of money for it. Came from the Ukraine. I'm an EverDrive fan. I have many EverDrive products, quite a few. Paid a lot of money for it. Took a while, and literally within days of me receiving this, they announced the Pro model. I want to put this into context. The EverDrive X7 had been the leading, most up-to-date version of the EverDrive for the Nintendo 64 for years. And how unlucky was I that the moment I put this in and I get my order, they come out with the Pro model. Now, I felt kind of burned by that. I felt like someone could have reached out and been like, hey, do you want to wait a little bit longer? A couple days? Because if you do, we can give you a Pro. That would have been great. No one did that. Pretty bummed out about it. In fact, at one point, it looked like they double charged me. Like they charged me twice, but then they undid the charge, and I asked them about it, and I received nothing from them. So lack of communication was not cool. So instead of me buying the Pro, I went ahead and did my own research, and I went ahead and purchased something else called the Summer Cart 64. Ooh, look at that shiny, look at that shine. This is different in a couple of different ways, but in all ways that matter, it is another Flashcart device for your N64, and I've tested it. It works fine and dandy for the analog 3D. It differs in a few ways. The most important one is I didn't actually buy this. I mean, I bought it, but the actual technology of this is actually all open source. So all I did was pay for someone to do the schematics and make a PCB and make a shell enclosure for me, and that's it. Also, they lived really close to me, which I thought was surprising, and it was really cheap. Maybe half the price of the EverDrive, maybe. And it came really quickly. Didn't have to wait that long. Once I got it, a very quick amount of setup you have to do because it's an open source project. Do your own research, look at the instructions. And before I knew it, I was up and running. A couple things this device does. It's all open source, so you can customize it however you like. But where this differs from the EverDrive 64 X7 is in two major ways. One, this device natively can run 64 disk drive games. When I say natively, I mean on this guy, on the EverDrive 64 X7, you have to go down the path of ROM hacking and go looking at sources in which people have decompiled the 64 disk drive game and put it into an N64 cartridge ROM and play it that way, which is fine. I've got nothing against that. But if you want to play authentic 64 disk drive games, 64 DD games as they are called, with enhanced audio, extra features, and just bigger ROM file sizes, you need this guy, the SumCart that allows for that. And the SumCart 64 does. And then it does one more thing, and kind of related to what I just said. It allows you to play games with a higher ROM file size than the limit, which I think is like 8 megabytes. I think it's 8 megabytes. Because I think the highest size that an N64 cartridge could be was 64 megabits. Let me double check that. Oh, I'm wrong. 64 megabytes is the cap of the highest, the biggest file size for a ROM that an N64 could possibly handle, which is 512 megabits. And there are 3 certified confirmed games that do this. Resident Evil 2, which is one of those games that I have, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and Pokemon Stadium 2. And the reason why this is important is that there's a couple of cool ROM hacks, assuming you have the original copy of the game and you want to just have fun with a ROM hack, that extend that far beyond 64 megabytes. And the EverDrive 64 X7, through all my research, doesn't allow you to do that. The Pro does, by the way. You know, the Pro that I was not offered, that no one ever called me and said, hey, you're interested in waiting a couple days and get the Pro? Does that. But the SumCart 64 cartridge does this. Looks cool. If you're watching this on video, you can see that it's black and shiny and comes with a cool label. It works fine. I'll have a more deeper dive review of that later on down the line, because I know you're all keenly interested in that. I also find the user interface strangely easier to navigate, even though it's somewhat more technical. The EverDrive 64 is closed source, meaning it's proprietary, meaning the company Crix, they own all the software and everything, how it all runs, whereas the SumCart 64 is all open source of that nature. So just wanted to give you that little bit of an update. Kind of fun, kind of neat. Yeah. Play retro games, however you want to play them. Notice how I'm very clear in saying that I'm playing games that I already own, because I do. That being said, if you go to a retro game store and they're selling you a copy of a game for well beyond market price, you probably should ask yourself the good old question that SNES Drunk asks, or rather, just the good old mantra of playing these games in whatever way you can. And that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, folks, that just about wraps up our show for this week. A little bit shorter episode than before, but don't worry, stay tuned for next week when we dive into, well, more stuff. Give you more time here on the Counter Hit Show. Remember, stay weird, be you, be your true self in whatever way you can. I'm your host, Sam Kirk, and I can't wait to see you next time. Cheers and enjoy.